Hey everyone, it's Jeannie, and today I'm sharing 4 cards created by using Waffle Flowers color combo dies and Lawn Fawn's Simply Winter Sentiments. These are 4 super easy cards where I'm using pattern paper from my stash. I normally don't like using this type of pattern paper for my cards because it's reflective and it's really hard to take photos of them, so I kind of steer away from it. But I wanted to pair it along with this set of cardstock that I had that's very Christmassy and very glittery. I thought that it was a perfect combo together. And normally I don't pre-plan my videos, but in this case, I had created these cards not planning to film it or anything, and I thought that it was really fun and easy and it'd be a good card to share with everyone. So I went ahead and die cut a bunch of the different shapes from the color combos dies. There's tons of rectangles, squares, triangles in different shapes and sizes, and I thought it was perfect. I also went ahead and heat embossed some sentiments on black cardstock using white embossing powder from the Lawn Fawn Simply Winter Sentiments, just so that I have it ready. I thought that creating the cards assembly line style was the best way to do it, and this is how I had created my previous 4 cards. So I already have the layouts for the 4 cards that I'm creating today, and so I'm kind of referencing it off camera, but this was the general idea. Of course, because these are handmade and hand glued, they're not going to be exactly the same. And I think that's the uniqueness of handmade cards. No two cards are exactly the same in any way. For this first pattern, I thought it worked really well with the triangles and that triangle geometric pattern on the pattern paper. So I just created little squares using the triangles with the different colors, and then I added the sentiments on there. So that's it for the very first card, and I think that it was really fun. So for my second card, I have a busier background that's definitely more reflective, and so I'm using the skinny rectangles just to kind of cover that up. I'm going to be placing all these little rectangles diagonally across the panel, and I'm going to add some of the extra rectangles at the bottom just to kind of fill up that empty space in the 2 corners. And once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add a sentiment right in the middle. I definitely think that these are the type of cards that can be replicated using different pattern papers and different solid scraps that you might have in your stash. For me, I tend to keep all my little scraps and I end up never using them. It's really rare where I will be like, oh yeah, that scrap in my stash that I need to use for this particular card, and I never do. Because I had this plan of sending off a ton of cards to some senior facilities, I need quick and easy cards to create to send them over. I won't be sending these because these are very seasonal. They ask for more general cards like hello, thinking of you, and ones that you can send year round. And so I think that I'm going to go back, cut a ton more, and create these quick and easy cards. All you need is a die cut machine and some glue and some paper, and you have quick and easy cards. You don't even need this die set. It's just easier, I guess, to have more precise shapes, but you can use a paper cutter to cut different shapes that you might want, and that would work just as well. For this third card, I decided to play a little bit of Tetris to create it. I wanted to nestle different scraps that I had that I wasn't going to use for my fourth card and kind of build around that main sentiment. I did want the pattern paper to show through, so I allowed for a little bit more space. Of course, you can add more or you can add less, but I thought that this card was a fun one. And I'll just trim off anything that's hanging from the edge, and that's my third card. Moving on to my fourth card, this one is definitely the most precise of them all. And to help with that, I am pulling out my mini Misti paper grid. And this is almost the size of an A2 card. I've marked off in pen exactly the A2 dimensions, which is 4¼ by 5½. And I'm using the grid to place my little squares perfectly, and everything will be more or less precise. So once I finish adding it to this grid, I'm using Glad Press and Seal, and I'm flipping it over. I'm flipping it over because I wanted to add little foam squares right behind the squares. So when it adheres to the card panel, it will provide that dimension. So I'm just cutting out little foam squares and placing them carefully on the back of them. Once I do that, I'm going to use the marking on the Misti grid to help adhere the card panel. And it really helps to make sure that the panel is on in the right place and I don't have to fiddle with all the squares and doing them one by one. This technique is really helpful when you want to use a lot of die cut pieces for a card, but you don't want to worry about misplacing them or not putting them in the right position. This cardstock is a little bit more grainy and glittery, and so it's more textured, so it doesn't really stick to the Glad press and seal that well, but it works enough for this particular card. So I'll position the little foam squares exactly where I want, use the marking, and add my card panel. Once I do that, I will go ahead and add the sentiment, and this fourth card is done. Hopefully this video and these ideas will inspire you to use your die cuts and scraps to create some quick cards for your crafty stash. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time for another video. Bye!